Hello, everyone. For this year's honors colloquium, Spice Roots, Story, Trade, and Taste Across Continents, I'm going to be showing you my final presentation, The History of Curry by Lily Ledford. Now, before we really get into the meat of this presentation, there is a distinction we have to make. In India, there is a tree called Benajir Kodajai, or the curry leaf tree as it's more colloquially known. The leaves of this tree are used for spices, but they're not ground and put into curry powder, which is what we're specifically going to be looking at and studying in this presentation. The way that the leaves are used is much more closely resembling how Americans use bay leaves. Both of the leaves are added, usually dried, to soups or stews during the cooking process to add flavor. The main difference between the two, though, is that curry leaves are fully edible while bay leaves are not. So, with this distinction made, what is this curry powder that we are going to be studying today? Don't worry about that right now. We're going to do a little bit of history before we really get into what curry powder is, or at least what that means today in the modern world, specifically the Western modern world. I can think of no better place for us to start our history with than the origins of the word curry itself. Now, the word curry seems to have come from the Indian word kari, which means sauce, and more specifically, a sauce served with rice. Now, with such a broad definition, there are quite a few foods in India that can be placed under the curry categorization, but no one in India would actually call those foods curry themselves because they have a specific name for the dish. Calling all Indian foods that is a sauce that is served with rice just curry would be in the same lane as calling any dressing served over any kind of vegetables just salad dressing. Is it accurate to what it is? Yes. Do people want more information on what they're having in their food or what dish they're having? Also, yes. Now, if curry is such a broad topic of food, why do we use it so specifically as we do in the Western world today? Unfortunately, but not surprisingly, the answer to that question is colonialism. Now, the colonization of India is a large topic that we are not going to be touching very much in this presentation, but the important thing to know, at least for this section, is that the Portuguese brought chilies to India, which meshed very well with the spices that were growing there natively, and so was pretty easily incorporated into the already existing food culture of India. The other important thing from this section is that during the British occupation of India, British people came to India and acted as false nobles of a sort to basically govern over the people of India during the occupation. While the British people were in India, their cooks adapted Indian cuisine that had already existed for a long time in India to a more British palate. These adapted cuisines were so beloved by the British people living there that they created a, and here are my air quotes, standardized curry blend that could be shipped out with the East Indian Trading Company back to Britain and to other places, so that when these British false nobles eventually went back to Britain, they could still enjoy their curry. Curry blends that are sold now and everywhere do not have an actual standardized recipe. They have common spices between them, but every brand's spice blend is different from one another. To this day in Britain, curry is used as a catch all term for any sauce like food that tastes even vaguely Indian inspired. I also need to take a sidetrack from this presentation to just express how sad the curry in this picture I'm using for British curry looks. I mean, look at it. It looks flavorless. It's so sad. I don't want to eat that. Getting back to the presentation, one of the places that this British curry powder reached was Japan. The British Navy brought curry to Japan during the Meiji era, the 19th century, as a collaboration effort since it was a food that could be made very quickly. And although the spices were adjusted for the current Japanese palate, could pretty easily be integrated and mass produced by the military for soldier rations. Curry in Japan would later receive a French influence in adding a roux sauce to the curry, and then an American influence later during a ration of rice to add potatoes into the curry. Even though there are now many regional variations of curry in Japan, it tends to have a much sweeter flavor overall than in India or in Britain. Now, there are several other countries that have their own takes and varieties of curry that initially got the idea from Britain and the East Indian Trading Company. But I do not want to end my presentation on one of those curries. I actually would like to end this presentation on a curry that was not initially introduced by Britain. And that curry is Thai curry. Now, I will admit to a full bias right now. Thai curry is my favorite curry out of them all. Red Thai curry specifically is something I make for myself very often and is my go to order if I go to any new Thai place. But all biases aside, Thai curry is pretty unique in the curry world because India and Thailand have had an established trading relationship since the 1st century BCE. And that trading relationship means that they had a very natural cultural exchange of food and spices and ideas. This natural exchange is why Thai curry is so very different in flavor profile than any other curry that was derived from the curry powder of Britain. Now, to help demonstrate how delicious this curry is, and frankly, because I want to, I'm going to show you guys how I make red curry at home. And I am very sorry, but I do not think you guys can taste this delicious curry from where you're sitting through the video, but you can dream. So, to get started on making this curry, I get started on preparing the rice. I will measure out some rice, I wash it, put in some salt, and then I put it in my rice cooker and let it cook while I make the curry. Now, to get started on the curry, I take some of my good oil, put it in a pan, get that nice and heated up, and then I'm going to add in some minced garlic and sweat that for just a little bit. Then I'm going to add in my red Thai curry paste. I really like this brand. I like the composition of spices. It's really nice. After I add in the curry paste and let that sit for a second, I add in some chicken bouillon and mix that in. Once I have the bouillon all mixed in, I then get out my onions and pepper frozen mix that I got from Walmart. I like it a lot. It saves me a lot of time when it comes to cooking. After giving the peppers and onions a little bit of time to cook, I then add in this Asian vegetable frozen medley that I have. And I get all that all mixed into the spices and the onions before I then add in a can of coconut milk. Once I have the coconut milk in, I add in a couple of additional spices that I like, namely garlic powder, white pepper, and MSG. After adding in those guys, I add in one nodule of palm sugar, and once that's in, I let the mixture come to a simmer before letting it sit for a couple of minutes. Once the mixture has simmered for a little bit and the vegetables are about 2/3 of the way cooked, I add in some frozen pre cooked shrimp. The shrimp do not need to cook, only thaw out in this case. So, after a couple of minutes, I do a final taste test to see if it needs any more spices or anything. And then I'll also add in the final ingredient, fish sauce. Once that guy's already been stirred in there, then the curry is done. This curry was delicious. There's a reason why it's my favorite. But it's also pretty easy to make if you use a lot of pre-cut ingredients like I did. Also, if you're wondering what cucumbers are doing on my plate when I didn't mention those are for my dog, my beautiful princess, my angel, my little Winnie girl. She is my dinner time buddy and likes to eat whatever I have on my plate, if she can. And with that, we are at the end of my presentation. This was an incredibly interesting topic to research, in no small part because of just how prevalent curry is all around the world today. And I truly believe that the reason for that is that technically, curry can be just about anything you say it is. The literal definition of the word curry is a sauce served with rice. And that applies to so many things. It's no wonder curry has become such a global phenomenon. I'm so glad that this class gave me the opportunity and excuse, really, to go in depth about this subject on the history of curry, because otherwise, I don't think I would have ever really thought about where curry comes from, how did it develop, and why is there so many different kinds of curry in the world. All credit to Dr. Jennifer Gray for teaching this honors class this semester. And I know with my major being a civil engineer, I may not have the opportunity to take one of her classes again. So I'm really happy I got to this semester. This is Lily Ledford, signing out.